Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, we will learn about looping constructs in Python. So there are mainly two types of looping constructs. One is for loop and another is while loop. So we will look at each one of them one by one. Let's start. So here I have opened a Jupyter notebook as you all can see. So the syntax for loop is basically for loop is used to traverse or access the elements in a sequence. Okay. So when I mean sequence, it can be lists. So that's the basic best example of what we mean by sequence. Okay. So to demonstrate the for loop, I will make use of a list and I will traverse elements in it one by one, and we can do some action on each of the element of that particular sequence. Okay. So let's see how to do that. Let's say I have a list created here with elements 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Let me execute it. So the variable is list1. Okay. Now what I am doing, let's first plainly print the elements one by one. Okay, using for loop. So how I can do that? So all I have to do is for element in list1. Okay. So for element in list1, when I say this, it will access individual element one by one in this particular list. Okay. For element in list1, print element. For element in list1, print element. So that's how it works. So if I just execute it, it will print the elements one by one in a separate line, because by default print adds new line towards the end of the print statement. Okay. So this is how we can access individual elements. But let's say I want to double each element while I am printing them. Okay. So how I can do that? So all I have to do is I have to again say for element in list1, I just need to say element into 2. Okay. So in this case, each element of this list will be accessed one by one and it will be multiplied by 2. So if I execute it, you will see 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 and 12. Okay, because I am multiplying each element of the list by 2. Okay. So this is how you can use for loop to access or to iterate through the sequence or iterable. Okay. Now there is something called as for and else. In Python we can use else along with for loop. So this else part would be executed once the iteration in this for loop is complete. Okay. So I will tell you what do we mean by complete iteration by demonstrating an example. Okay. So let's say I want to divide each of the element in this list by 2, and once it is done, I need to print done, so that I will know that all the elements have been divided by 2. So how I can do that? All I have to do is the same for loop for element in list 1. What I have to do? Print element by 2. Each element will be divided by 2. And in the end, once the iteration of all the elements is over, I need to say else. I need to print done. This else will be executed only when all the elements are iterated in this particular list. If for some reason this for loop terminates in the middle before accessing all the elements through the end of the last element, this else part will not be executed. Okay. So I will show you that. So if I execute it now, you will see each element will be divided by 2. So we will get 0.5, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, and in the end we see done. Okay. This done will be printed as part of this else construct. Okay. This else with for loop will be executed. Else part of the for loop will be executed only after completing the iteration with respect to the for loop variable. Okay. In this case, this list1. What happens if we break the for loop after executing first statement or executing the operation on first element in the sequence, that is this list? So all we know that the list1 contains these elements 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what I am doing here, I am saying I am accessing each element of this list and I am printing element by 2. Half of the each element I am printing it. Okay. But as soon as I print the element by 2 value for the first element, it will break out from this for loop, because I am using break statement here. So this break statement will break the for loop before completing all the iteration in this particular sequence. Okay. So because I am breaking the for loop before iterating till the end of this particular list, this else part will not be executed. Okay, we will see that in action now. You see, it accessed element 1 because for element in list 1 for the first time, element accessed is 1. So it divided it by 2 and printed it, right? So the result is 0.5. But soon after printing it, I am asking it to break the for loop. Now it is breaking the for loop only after accessing the first element alone. That's why the else part is not executed. Okay, with respect to for else, the else part will be executed only when all the elements in the sequence with respect to for loop are iterated. Okay, so please remember this. So this is all about for loop. Now there is something called as while. So while is another looping construct in Python. So the general syntax is, it is like this: while some condition, okay, based on that condition, whether it evaluates to true or false, the below code will be executed, otherwise it will not be executed. The statements within while loop will be executed only when the condition we specify as part of while loop evaluates to true. Okay, so we'll see this with an example now. So let's say I have a list of elements, right? Let me just display it again. The elements are 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6. Now what I want to do, I want to pop the element one by one, okay, automatically using while loop. I do not want to execute or want to write list1 dot pop 6 times because I have 6 elements. In order to empty this particular list, I have to execute pop 6 times, right? So I do not want to write list1 dot pop 6 times. Instead of that, I want to execute using the while loop. So how I can do that? So all I have to do is while length of list1. Okay, so at the first time the length will be 6, right? Because we have 6 elements in the list, the length of the list will be 6. So while length of the list. So remember one thing I had told you in my previous videos: all numbers except 0 will be treated as true. Okay, it's a boolean, and 0 alone will be treated as false. Okay, so this is the thumb rule you guys have to remember when you are executing any while loop or making use of while loop. Okay, so what happens here? I'll say while length of list. So initially length of list is 6, right? So this will be evaluated to true. Since it is true, the statements within this while loop will be executed. So I have 2 statements within this while loop, right? So if you see, one is printing the popped item. I am executing pop here as a first statement, and as part of the second statement, I am printing the length of the list after popping an element from the list. Okay. Okay. Now this is else part. So this else part, it works in the same way as it worked with for loop. Okay, if the condition is satisfied, this will not be executed. Once the condition fails, the else part will be executed always. But in case of for loop, all the elements of the sequence must be iterated in order for the else statement to be executed. But with respect to while loop, once the condition fails, the else part will be triggered and executed. Okay, so we'll see that in action now. So let's execute this. Okay, so you see here, the first length of the list will be 6 at the first check. While length of the list, it is 6, it will be evaluated to true. Then I am doing popped item from the list is, since pop returns us an item from the last, so I am just printing it. So I'll say list1 dot pop, it will be 6 because the last element is 6. Okay, so that's my first statement within the for loop, while loop. Next, what I am executing, I am printing the length of the list after I am popping an element. Okay, so after I popped an element from the list, the new length will be 5, right? So this 5, again it will be checked here, while length of list 1. Now in the second iteration it will be 5, again it will be evaluated to true. Now again I am popping an item from the list. Now since 6 has already been popped, the available element to be popped is 5. Okay, the contents of the list is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 after popping 6. So now I can say popped item from the list is, if I just print out the popped item, it will say 5. Okay, since I have popped 2 items from the list already, the new length will be 4, right? So I am just displaying that. Now again I am checking while length of list 1. After popping 2 elements from the list, the length will be 4. Again it will be evaluated to true. So you can see the next item that is popped is 4. And after popping the third element, the length will be 3. Likewise, it will go on popping the last element available in the list. So coming to the last item, let's say we have popped 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So you can see 6, 5, 4, 3, 2 are popped already. Okay. After popping 2, the length of the list is 1 because only available element is 1. That's the only element available within this particular list. Okay. Now length of the list is 1. Again it will be evaluated to true. That one last element will be popped again. Okay. That is popped item from the list is 1. After popping the last available element in the list, the length of the list will be 0. Right. You can see length of the list is 0. Okay. So this part is done. Once the length of the list is 0, you see while length of the list 1, it will be 0, right? Length of the list 1 is 0. So it will be evaluated to false. It will be treated as false. Since this condition is not evaluated to true, these statements will not be executed further. Next, the execution will be the statements within this else part. Okay. So since this gets evaluated to false when the list is completely empty, the control will come to else part. Whatever statements we have specified in the else part will be executed. Here I am just printing inside else part and I am just making sure the length of the list is 0. So I am just printing length of the list. So in the end you can see inside else part length of the list is 0. Okay, so this is how while loop works. While loop can be used without else part also. Okay, if I just remove else part, it will not throw me any error. Else is not a compulsion in both for loop and while loop. Okay, it will just execute fine without any error. Okay, since I have popped all the elements in the list, I'll just again construct this list. Okay, I'll just execute it once more so that I won't get any error now. Okay, so now if I say execute it, you see it worked just fine. Since I don't have anything after executing the while loop, I have nothing to display it or I have nothing to execute. Okay, so this is how while loop works. Another example I can give is we can print any multiplication table using while loop and the code will be as simple as this one. Okay, so I am initializing two variables first. I is equal to 1, j is equal to 9. Okay, so in this case I am printing 9 multiplication table up to 10. Okay, 9 ones are 9, 9 to 18, 9 into 3 27. So like this I am printing the multiplication table up to 9 into 10 equal to 90. Okay, so how we can do that? So all I am doing is while I is less than or equal to 10, okay, I is 1 initially, so 1 is less than or equal to 10, I am printing j into I. J is 9, right? J into 9 into 1, I will be initially 1. So 9 will be printed here. Once I print this, I am incrementing I by 1. So initially it was 1, now it will be 2, right? Since I am incrementing it by 1, the new value of I will be 2. 2 is less than or equal to 10. That will be evaluated to true because that is true. Then what I am doing, j is 9. It is a constant value. It will not be changed. 9 into new value of I, that is 2. 9 into 2 is 18, right? So 18 will be printed. Again I am incrementing I by 1. So it was 2 in the previous step. Now it will be 3. So 3 is less than or equal to 10. So 9 into 3, 27. So like this I will go on incrementing it till I hit I is equal to 10. Okay, in the end I will be 9 plus 1, it will be 10. So 10 is less than or equal to 10. Since we have less than or equal to, 10 will be equal to 10, that will be evaluated to true. It will print 9 into 10, that is 90. Then it will increment I by 1. Now the new value of I will be 11. Since 11 is not less than or equal to 10, it will be evaluated to false in the last case. When I reaches greater than 10, that is in this case 11. Since 11 is not less than or equal to 10, it will come out of the while loop. Since I have something in the else part specified here, I am printing here. So what I am printing, end of multiplication table for number, whatever number I specify here in the J, that will be printed here. So you can see 9, 18, 27, 36 up to 90, and in the end, since it came out of the while loop because of the failure to satisfy this particular condition, the else part will be executed. Okay, so no matter what, whether the condition satisfies or we do not provide else statement, while loop will, it keeps on executing till the condition is satisfied. Okay, so that's what happening here. So if we say I less than 10, so 11 will be less than or equal to 10, it will be false. So it is coming to this part and then printing this end of multiplication table for number J. J is 9, so 9 will be printed here. So this is how while loop works. So hope you guys understood the looping constructs in Python, for loop and while loop. If you guys have any questions, please reach out to me in the comment section. I'll try to answer each one of them. So happy learning. Bye.